Folks, welcome back to Flatirons Tuning. We're here in the shop, and on the lift is the Pikes Peak car. Yes, it is that time. It's towards the end of February. The Pikes Peak hill climb is just a handful of months away, the last Sunday in June. And, if you followed us last year, you know that we had an engine issue. We had to do a quick engine swap, but ended up having a really good run last year. We're still having some issues, and we're gonna try doing some things different. We're gonna make some changes this year, some of them pretty big. And we're excited about it, but I realized that this is going to be, I think, the 12th year that we've run this car at Pikes Peak, and we've done a lot of changes. We've tried a lot of things, and we made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I would say we've almost made 10 mistakes for every one thing we got right on this car as we were trying things out and developing it and that sort of thing. And before we get into all the new stuff and the changes that we're going to make, I figured, well, let's go back. Let's look at our 5 biggest mistakes we made building and developing this car so that you can maybe learn from them, avoid them, that sort of thing. And the interesting thing is that I would say that probably our biggest mistake might also be our biggest success with this car. So we're going to get into that. Before we do, just want to say, if you like the content that we're putting out, if you like the channel and you want to see us keep coming back to make videos like this for you, make sure you like, subscribe, check out FlatironsTuning.com, check out the merchandise below. You know what to do. All right. Let's get into it. Let's get into mistake number 1. So, mistake number 1 was made when we had the cage put in this car. Now, the construction of the cage and everything like that was done very, very well. Like it's passed Pikes Peak Tech all these number of times. The cage itself is great. The problem is, well, it's actually twofold. One is the fact that we did not realize how much weight in the car we could have saved if we would have taken some material out of the A, B, C pillars before the cage was put in. Now knowing what we know, there's probably about 150 pounds of weight in the structure of the car that we didn't touch before the cage was put in, that if we had to build this car over again, we would take out because we don't need the strength in the chassis because the cage brings that rigidity. So this car could be 100, 150 pounds lighter than it is, and that would be a big advantage. The other mistake that we made is we did not optimize the design of the cage. Now the cage, the fabrication is top-notch, but the design of the cage, it was custom built for us, and there were some considerations that we just didn't think of at the time, and the biggest one is getting in and out of the car, believe it or not. If you look at these A-pillar bars, yes, they're gusseted to the A-pillars, but the whole cage comes pretty far back in the car. We also used the stock seat mounts. We didn't push the seat position back, and now using a seat that has the halo for head support, you can see there's just a little bit of room here towards the top because of the position of the seat in this A-pillar. We could have done way better. We could have moved the seat back. We could have had them put these A-pillars much further forward, probably not reuse the factory knee bar, but actually just use the knee bar for the cage to push and mount a lot of stuff further forward. Then it would make getting in and out of the car a lot easier. And I'll tell you what, that makes a big difference. The more you get in and out of the car, if you're building a race car and you're putting a cage into it, being able to get in and out of the car easily and being comfortable in the car is a big, big deal. And we just didn't even think about that when we had this thing built. So save weight where you can and really optimize the design of the cage if you can. That makes a big difference. If we had to do that over again, those are the 2 things we would absolutely do as far as the design of the cage. All right, let's move to mistake number 2. All right, mistake number 2. We should have moved to a standalone way sooner. Now that we've got the Haltech in here, seeing what it's like, knowing what the Haltech brings to the table, what it can do, in terms of data logging, the safeguards you can program in, the amount of one location control, to be able to control, water sprayers, boost control, everything all through the standalone, collect all the data in real time, look at everything that's going on in the system in context to be able to troubleshoot the car, diagnose the car, optimize the car. There's things that a standalone does that you just cannot do, you cannot get with the stock ECU running an access port. The access port worked really well for us for a long time, and it works great on street cars. If you have a car that is your street car that you're tracking sometimes, it's a good solution. But when you get to the point where you have a competition car, you're looking at running a series, doing a series of events, you need the car to be reliable, you need the car to be consistent. What a standalone brings to the table is just next level. We should have moved to a standalone much sooner than we actually did. Glad we got it now, though. All right, let's move to mistake number 3. Mistake number 3, this is a big one, cooling. If you've been following us for any amount of time with this car, what you have undoubtedly seen is that cooling and overheating issues, that is the fundamental problem that we've been chasing since day one with this car. A lot of that has to do with Pikes Peak, certainly, and the fact of the lack of air density and the elevation and that sort of thing. But just in general, we made a lot of mistakes with cooling, and we've done our best to come back and tell you all of the things that we figured out. The biggest one being radiator caps. Something as simple as a radiator cap, and the difference between the one-way caps and the two-way caps, which cap you need where and all that sort of thing. We probably shot ourselves in the foot for nearly 10 years with this car by not understanding the difference between these two caps. If you have not watched our video about the mystery of Subaru radiator caps, check that out. That will help you make sure that your cooling system is working. But there's a lot more to it. And again, we've probably seen some of the developments that we've made. In terms of the radiator itself, we removed the cap from the radiator, baffling and whatnot to make sure that all the air that comes in through the front of the car goes through the radiator. This extraction hood to make sure that the air that as it comes in, it's got an easy path out. There's so many things about cooling that are critical to make a car reliable and perform consistently. It's such a big thing. So if you're working on building a car or tracking the car, getting it out there and putting it on track for 10, 20, 30 minutes at a time, think about cooling in every regard. Make sure you got your radiator caps right, make sure that the engine is running cool, check your brake temps, transmission temps, all these things. Cooling is such a big deal. We knew it was a big deal, but we just didn't even really know how big of a deal it was. So yeah, make sure your cooling systems are all working properly. Make sure you got the right radiator caps on your car. Don't do what we did. Definitely. Okay, let's move to mistake number 4. All right, mistake number 4, testing. Specifically, the lack of testing. Again, we've been developing this car. We've changed a lot of things on this car, usually from one year to the next. And we've never really had the opportunity to do what I would call enough testing to make sure that we could go into race week at Pikes Peak with a good deal of confidence that everything is right, everything is going to work the way that we want it to. We've gotten lucky. We've had a few trouble-free years, to be sure, but we've also had our fair share of problems as well. I cannot overstate the value of testing. If you've got a car that you're trying to develop, you're taking it to the track, you're trying to make it turn faster, stop faster, go faster. When you make a change, being able to go out there and test the car, on a track day, or when there's no time constraints, when there's no pressure of an event, so you can actually get the car up to temperature, beat the snot out of it, know that it's going to be reliable, know that it can take, whatever you're going to throw at the car, and especially too that the changes that you've made are working. That's a big deal. I cannot overstate the value in that. And just the universe always conspires against us, from a time standpoint or whatever. Maybe we just, scope creep gets us and we end up taking too many things apart and it takes too long to get it back together, and we just don't have enough time to get this car to the track to shake it down enough before, Pikes Peak Race Week. I don't know what it is. Maybe that happens to you too. It happens to us a lot, way more than I would like. And through the years, I would say that, there's a handful of mistakes and a handful of issues that we've had that have been self-inflicted because we just haven't had the time or haven't made the time to go take the car out and track test it enough before race week. So testing, do it. You will benefit from it, and it will hopefully overall reduce the amount of stress that you have if you're trying to build a car and develop it. All right, let's move to our biggest mistake, mistake number 5. Here we are, our biggest mistake. It's sitting right here. It's our engine package. The fact that we stuck with a stock engine for all of these years running up Pikes Peak. Now I say it's our biggest mistake because that's what I hear from tons of people. Why are you doing that? That's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you put in a built engine and all that sort of thing? I think this is actually our biggest success, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Reason number 1 is it has shown what is, how reliable these Subaru engines can be and how capable they can be. At this point, for the last handful of years, we've been making about 420, 430 horsepower on the 85 with stock heads, stock cams, stock valves, stock short block. Everything in the long block is completely stock, and we've never had ringline failure, for instance. Yes, we've had a lot of overheating issues. We've talked about that. We've only had one bearing failure, and that was on the original engine a number of years ago. Just the one, it's all been overheating and head gasket issues for us. And that's, to me, that says a lot, especially the environment that Pikes Peak is and how much stress we're putting through the engine, the fact that the stock short block at that power level can stay together. Now, granted, we're not daily driving this, we're not putting a lot of miles on it, but I still think it's significant. It says something. The other reason that I think it's important or significant is because it's kept our development costs significantly lower. And because everything is off the shelf, parts are readily available. There have been multiple instances, last year being a great example, where we have a failure, sometimes catastrophic. We're able to just go, gather more parts together, put together a new engine, and we're back on the hill literally the very next day, running and being competitive. So the interchangeability and the accessibility of parts, because we're just using all the factory things, I think has really been a benefit for us. To the point where, if we were going to try and have that same kind of parts availability, we would need to build 2 long blocks if you're going to do something crazy with ported heads and cams and custom short block and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's really, I think, has paid dividends. And I mean, heck, I'm going to say we have the world record for the fastest stock long block Subaru running at Pikes Peak, and I don't think anybody's going to be crazy enough to challenge us on that. So maybe you should. But as you can see, the engine is out of the car. And yeah, this engine is not going back in the car. This is the engine that ran Pikes Peak last year. This is the turbo kit and everything that ran last year. But we are now making a change, and this is the biggest part of the change. Is we are finally ready to make the move to a fully built engine because we've done all of this testing and we've worked through all these problems and we have confidence now in our cooling system and so forth. So it's time. We're making the jump. So we're putting in a new long block. We're changing the whole engine package. Cannot wait to tell you about it, but we're not there yet. So for right now, like, subscribe, ring the bell, as they say, so that when we do come out with some of the information about the new engine package, you're going to be the first to know. We're really excited about it. I can't wait to show it to you. But we got some work we got to do first. So it's coming soon. Pikes Peak is just a few months away. Mark the last Sunday in June on your calendars. That's going to be the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. It's going to be a fun one this year. And we're really looking forward to our chances with some of the changes that we're making. So thanks for your support as always. And until next time, stay tuned to Flat Irons Tuning.